Now, for those of you that have been missing the old girl, here she is in all her glory. Get down here, you can see the straight axle and the wheelwood brakes. Moving on up to the tunnel ram. I noticed when I cut the hood, this is kind of a weirdo. The motor actually sits off to the passenger side just a little bit. So I've got to adjust that. I think I'm going to jack up the passenger side motor mount a little. That's easier to do than anything. But here she is, a 1957 Chrysler New Yorker that I've turned into a gasser of sorts. It has been shortened in the middle by 40 inches. It has the same 88-inch wheelbase as a Mini Cooper or a CJ5. Excuse the wind, there's not a lot I can do if you're hearing that. The tail lights are actually Plymouth, I believe. They were on the car, so I got lenses for them and built LEDs into them and all. The roof obviously needs a little bit of work, but she's coming together. I've redone the dash. If you look at all the videos, you'll see that. These seats are out of a 2014, I believe, Camaro. Brand new steering column. I'm using a steering wheel that was on it with a new tilt column. I do have the bezel for it. It's just sitting there. And I've taken the vinyl off the dash and painted it. We walk around the other side. My wife had made these door panels. I think they came out pretty slick looking. It does have crank up windows that do work. Though I did cheat on the other side. This side actually has Lexan in it. Plexiglass, whatever. So, but it does work. So, what did I come around here for? I don't remember. Anyway, it's got an 8.8 underneath it with 410s. I'm hoping you'll be able to see that I've put ladder bars underneath it. I did put them on sliders. Once again, if you watch that video, you'll see about those. I do have some work to do here as far as getting this door handle on and working. But if all else fails, set you down for a second. A zip tie works. Reason being, the outside latch has so much play in it that I have to add a little metal there. So there's the seats. I'm actually using the factory headlight switch. I'm using the factory wiper switch. The emergency brake lever is actually going to hook to the disc brake emergency brake on the back. The factory clock does work. I've added this autometer tack that I had in a box. I would put a new one, but geez, they've lost their mind on what they're worth. And then I put an autometer multi-gauge there that has all the rest of the information I need. Stand by for a minute. I will open up the hood and show you what's under there. Well, there she is in all her glory. It's sad to leave it sit and let this chrome already start to tarnish a little bit, but it's what happens when you move and you're building a new place. So let's start with the tilt front end. And notice they are leaned in, so I get a little bit of an X dimension. It's not the best arrangement, but it's what I came up with because I really wanted to save this front bumper. Without the front bumper, it just doesn't look like it should. So, moving on, I have a Chevy Nova 3-core radiator in there. I made brackets down in the bottom. I don't know if you can see them. It's mounted in rubber there. And it comes up, and believe it or not, these two brackets right here, pipe clamps, work really well at locking this in solid. Behind it, if you can see it, and we'll move to the other side. Hiding up underneath there is the AC condenser. It's about 3 inches away at the bottom. If I have a problem with cooling, I can do a little modifying, but the big thing is it all has to clear this hood, so that's how she ended up setting up. I've got a air conditioner set up for it, which will be going on it once I get able to work on it. They kind of frown working here in the RV park where I am because of obviously tearing stuff apart and making noise and all that stuff. So, moving on. It is a 383 stroker, however it is another 10 over, so what's that make it, a 387? I don't know. Anyway, the aluminum pulleys on the front. I have a set of billet brackets for the AC and the alternator. I had to put this thermostat housing up here with a cap on the top because obviously we have an issue down there. I will be capping this overflow off and hooking this overflow up to my overflow bottle. Look at that, it's already rusting. Cheap stuff. Anyway, so there she is. I used some nice 10mm wires. The gear reduction starter. It is a 10.5 to 1 motor. It is studded. It is a 4-bolt main. It's been balanced and all the good stuff done to it. What else? It's got a, can't remember the offhand specs of the cam, but the lift is right around 560, 565. I want to say right around 284-ish, but I'd have to look up the card. You can go back in my videos and see all that. I do have a Summit ignition box with an internal rev limiter. I have a Summit distributor. I did have to modify the linkage. This is obviously a GM pickup truck bracket that I've mounted to another bracket and then worked to the two carburetors. These are two 500 2-barrels right now. It's still 1,000 CFM. But my thought was, and I could be out of my mind, but if you look straight down the tunnel ram from the front, the 2 barrels are right in the middle of the tunnel ram. Now to me, that would give me more even distribution left side to right side when it's a cruiser. So like I said, I could be wrong, but if you've got 4 barrels on it and they're sitting sideways, then the primaries are on the driver's side on both carburetors, which means that the driver's side would always run a little richer, I believe, than the passenger side. Is that true? I don't know. Is there a reason guys don't run more 500 2-barrels? I mean, let's face it, it's 1,000 CFM. These heads flow 200, I believe. They flow as well as AFRs, and they are aluminum heads. These headers, I don't even remember where I got them, but they're decent stainless. As you can see, they haven't started to rust. I had another set of, I believe they're called JBAs. The reason I didn't like those was because the driver's side was okay. I liked the clearance, but the passenger side laid right against the floor pan, and I didn't like that, so I went in a different route. This is actually a vacuum switch, which I'll be using. I do have a vacuum pump, so in the event that this cam doesn't produce enough vacuum, I can go ahead and just inline that pump. So I use the switch right now because my piece of hose was too short. I'll be addressing that. This is my hydraulic clutch reservoir. Obviously my clutch master. Oh, I should have got up under here. Let me open this door again, and let's see if we can't give you a bird's eye view of what we did. Come on, door. There we go. So up underneath here, I don't know how well you'll be able to see, but that is a 1985 Ranger clutch pedal assembly and brake pedal. The gas pedal is General Motors late 80s, early 90s pickup truck gas pedal with a cable. I did that because it just works out really well. And that clutch pedal assembly, I did have to do a little modifying to get the clutch master to work, because that is a cable clutch, but it was an easy modification. I believe you can see that in one of my videos too. The Vega steering box. Underneath the Vega steering box, I do have Speedway Motors complete axle kit, springs, and steering. I did do the upgrade to the wheelwood brakes. If anybody has a brilliant idea on how to get that rust off those brand new rotors without having them cut and still keeping them straight, let me know. I think I can probably just hit them a little with the DA. I did make my own motor mounts and welded those in. That is a Speedway Motors universal kit. How well you can see, once again, they are in the video. They are gusseted well, so hopefully that'll hold this thing. What else? Watch my videos and you'll see how I did a lot of this. And I don't know that I made a video on how to rebuild the back window. The glass is actually factory. I did have to remake some rails and stuff. I used like 1961 Ford roller tracks, and then got some wheels on eBay, I believe. And then, but you can see my taillights turned out pretty good. They are the original buckets. You can't do anything with this pitting and all. And look, this is a driver. It at one time had a CB radio in it. You can see the big old antenna hole. If you look at this hitch right here, you'll see where it got into the back of the tailgate. Thank God it didn't hit it square. But it is a good indicator that I need to peel the bottom of that off anyway and deal with that rust that is underneath the Bondo. This is one of those old jobs where they put a layer of Bondo over the entire car to block it out, and when they did, of course, metal prep wasn't the best, so there is some rust under the doors. Actually the bottom of the whole car. You can see the rockers. The other side I replaced. I think I did a little bit of video on that. Once again, watch all my videos. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Do a comment or something. I like to know that somebody's out there actually watching these things. I've had some good numbers. I've had some bad numbers. But look, this is a pretty cool build done on a budget. If you're wanting to do something silly like this, you can do it for a lot less than all these guys say. Well, there you can see my rocker that I've tacked on. It still needs some work. But when you consider what was underneath it, it's not a bad job. I just stitched it across the top so that oh geez, I don't even know if I got that in the video. There you go. It's stitched in. I have some stuff to do on the ends. I have to do a little revamping, but now that I know what I'm doing, I can figure that out and do it. It will have a vintage airtight box underneath the dashboard. I have the original radio dash that's going in it, but I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I do have green tint for the windows. You know, you saw all those old cars with the blue tint, the red tint. Well, these windows are actually green already, so I figured why not tint them green. So that's what we're doing there. I did replace this windshield. The weather strip was not available. A couple of good friends of mine, Dave Smith and Bill Strahl, helped me out with it, pulling it out, cleaning up the slot. We painted it so it wouldn't rust. Then we used the old weather strip, put it in, and then I used 5200 to actually glue the window in. I don't think it's going anywhere. I'm using the factory windshield wiper arms. I do have blade inserts for those. I'm using the factory windshield wiper motor, which I did get to work a little bit. It needs a little more work, but that's really what Rain-X is for. So the wheels in the back are turbine wheels. I actually have a little set that's going to go on my Coke trailer too, which I think I showed in a little snippet earlier, you can see. I bought these tires and wheels, and I got these wheels for a couple $100 and then bought new tires. Don't want to take a chance. This is just a rambling here. So here you can see the factory upper shock tower, and it actually, I made brackets there to hook the shock directly underneath it, so it'll be up and down right there. Simple. Once again, I did remove a couple leaves out of the springs, so it does have a little bit of suspension. Not a lot, but I'll know more once I drive it. In the back, if you watch my video, you'll see where I mounted the fuel cell, the battery box, all that good stuff. So I'm going to try and get the seats bolted in it here if they'll let me, and I'm going to put a battery in it and try and kick it in the butt. It has run once, and then I had to pack up and leave. So my fuel lines are 1/2 inch. They go all the way to the back, all sheathed. The battery cable is a 1/0 welding cable, so it's got a lot of capability of running power. I put it inside a piece of heater hose, so chafing won't be an issue. I do have all of these clamped in place so they don't move and rub against anything and chafe. I have a MagnaFlow pressure regulator here, and a good sized pump in the back. I forget exactly what it is. And a couple people have commented that I'm not doing this right as far as the fuel regulator, recommending I have a return. Well, the difference is this is carbureted, and this regulator does not do return. It has 2 outlets, but I don't need them on 2 500s. I've got a 3/8 line going up. If I go around the other side, you can see what I built here. I put a Y underneath there, comes up to the 2 carbs. You know, it's a little different when it's a driver. May I rump on it once in a while? Sure. But they use a lot of 3/8 fuel lines on a lot of single hollies, and don't have a problem. So as long as my pressure remains good, I should be fine, because it's basically feeding 1 Holly carburetor to obviously 2 bulls, 1 Holly 4 barrel. So what else? I still obviously have the front wiring to do. This is all for headlights, the horn, all that good stuff, which I did get a cool horn for it. It's an Aruga. We'll see how that works. Under here, sneaky, is a line lock. Over here is my adjustable proportioning valve. There are my two PSI check valves, because obviously it has disc brakes. So that's for those. And let me see, disc brakes in the back, as I said, 410s. Let me see if I can get up under here. Oh, this is gonna hurt, but I'll do it for you guys because I'm kneeing in the rocks. You can see under there, there's the rear end housing, the ladder bars. I have the factory shocks on it, but I've actually bought another pair of shocks I'm gonna put on. You guys are gonna laugh, but I'm putting air shocks on the back. And I know that's old school, but then again, so is the whole car. The reason I'm putting air shocks on is these springs are a good set of brand new leaf springs I put in the back. Brand new bushings, brand new everything, mounted in the stock location. And this is how that car sits. Now you really can't see it, but the butt end needs to come up about 1 inch. I would just prefer that it was up about another inch. So with the air shocks, I can do that adjusting if I put the trailer behind it or a load in the back, because obviously I haul a lot of junk on the Hot Rod Power Tour or anywhere I go. I can use that space and not have the tires jammed up in the fender or the bumper grabbing. So a couple more things about this car. Once again, it's a 1957 Chrysler New Yorker wagon, and the frame is just perfect. It's super clean. Underneath, the guy gusseted it and welded it really well together. The car has been punched right here in the right rear corner a little bit. I think it was a bumper hit, because right underneath the bumper, the frame is just wrinkled a little bit, but the rest of the frame is perfect. So, of course, I have all the chrome and stuff in there that go with it, and a bunch of trim that's been painted. I did use a product kind of like Dynamat in here underneath the carpet. The carpet is actually for a early 1990s Chevy pickup truck. I put this in there because I had it for another project. I don't know if it's going to stay. I did build floor pans for it, which you could see in another video, but I don't know that I'm perfectly happy with it. After this year, I may remove the body from the frame if I decide to keep the car, and if I do, a factory Chevy pickup 80s to 90s floor pan will fit in here. And I was going to go to a U-Pullet yard or find a guy that's got a cab and just cut the whole bottom out of it and then splice it in. And if I do that, then this carpet would fit it perfect. But the way they did this car, behind the seats, is actually the back of the car. So the 40 inches, the whole back end, because the rear end is right there, is the back of the car, right to there. So you don't have a lot of playroom as far as what to do with carpet and flooring. And I to be honest with you, I'm not going to spend the money to get it all done custom. Same with this interior. I had a nice setup for the headliner here. It was a piece of, I don't know what to call this, junk. We all know it's junk, but it works. And then I had this velour looking velvety, whatever, fabric that I was going to put in the factory arches, which I have. But because of the trip and moisture and it's all warped to garbage. So I'll be coming up with a new plan. I can do it like DD's Speed Shop and just run it like it is. It did have a little bit of insulation in there, which I'm going to do something with. I don't know what. What I really want to do is get in here and clean this rust up, or at least rust kill it, because she sat for a long time abused. So we'll figure that stuff out and move on and forward. I hope this renews your interest in my hot rod. Keep watching. We are pouring concrete on the 25th and 26th of this month of October. Once the concrete is up, my building is about 4 weeks away from being assembled and put up. They say they can do it in 3 days, but I have to get in their queue order so they can do that. Once that happens, this is going in the barn. I do have an apartment to build, so we have a place to live other than our motorhome. But I'll be able to piddle with this when I just need something different to do. And that'll be getting it kicked in the butt. I am going to purchase a lift right away, so I'll get it up in the lift. I have exhaust that I want to make for it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop from there. There's no room under the car. I don't know how well you can see it, but I'll try. There's just not a lot of room for exhaust there. So what I'm going to do is kind of like a horseshoe or a tight 3-inch bend, come out up underneath here and run a muffler way back to here, which is arm's length away, and a little cutout. I don't know that I can even get anything up over the differential because it's so tight with the ladder bars and the fuel cell back there and all, so we'll see. But I hope you enjoy this video. I hope this keeps you interested in this little mutt. We'll be back to building as soon as possible. In the meantime, please like and subscribe. Don't forget to watch the videos. There'll be a lot of weird stuff that's coming up. I don't know how much you guys are into building or anything, but tell your friends that there's a nut job that's building an apartment in a barn, and we call them barn dominiums. And you might learn a few things there too. I have some tips and tricks about that stuff. I've already built one. I'll be on my second one here. And we're just doing the whole thing. You can watch those last couple videos of the dirt work and all, kind of give you an idea what's happening. And then as soon as the lift is in, we're going to go gung-ho on this. I do want to say this. I have made plenty of mistakes on this car. Obviously, I've made plenty of mistakes, period. But I've made a lot of mistakes. And there's a lot of learning curve that you do, regardless of how many of these things you build. Everyone is different. I've never built anything that was as silly as this. I pretty much did save it from the scrapyard because no other person was nutty enough to take a run at it. It did have a 400 in it. We did make that 400 run. Actually, I sold it to a guy named Clint. He's putting it in a satellite, early 70s satellite, and he's going to take that on the power tour hopefully this year. But with the way it was all set up, the only thing I could see to do was make a gasser out of it. And yeah, a lot of guys have already commented, oh, another one ruined. Well, look, I didn't do this. I did not do this. I am saving it from being garbage. It's going to be a lot of fun. It'll draw some heads. Nobody on the planet has one. It's not another 55 to 57 Chevy. It's not another Camaro. It's not another Chevelle. It's not another Cuda or Challenger. It's not. It's just not those. So everything that you see here is just from the love of the sport. It's for taking something that's silly. My wife thinks I'm crazy, which is nothing new, but and bringing it back to life and having some fun. And I'm not in it a lot of money. I'm in it a good bit, but you know, when you start adding stuff up, like couple 300 for a radiator, $800 for the AC unit, and then, you know, $1,000 for heads, and $2,000 for the machine work in the engine, not including it originally, not including pistons, rings, bearings, oil pans, clutches. You know, there's another $1,000. The pulleys, the brackets, the brake system, the 8.8 with the disc brakes, and the cover, and the axles, and the wheelward brakes. And I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of money in it. But if you want to do it right, you can save a lot of money over what I did if you do something like this. You can buy a nice running 350 with a turbo 350 behind it for $1,000. You can do a Craigslist rebuild on it, which is 5 cans of brake clean and some paint the color of your choice. You can take all your pulleys and everything from the factory stuff off, and you can clean them up real nice and paint them a different color or the color of the car. You don't have to use stainless steel headers, although these were pretty cheap. You can find cheap headers on eBay or Facebook Marketplace for $100. You don't have to run a tunnel rim. You can buy an aluminum intake all day long for $100 or $200. Find a used Holly. Learn how to rebuild one. It takes an hour. It's not tough. Lipstick and rouge. Paint goes a long way. Flattening out this firewall. No, I didn't buy virgin metal and go and spot weld it all the way around. I used self-tapping screws and a piece of tin I had. I did buy the rockers. They were $100 for the pair. Do they fit this right? No, because this is cut 40 inches. So you got to play with it. Those back wheels, I think I got them for $75 for the pair. The tires I got from a buddy of mine. He didn't want them on his truck. He used the set that I had. So we kind of swapped out for those. So don't be afraid to do it. You know, there's a reason that Vice Grip Garage got started. There's a reason DD Speed Shop stuff isn't $100,000 cars. It's because a lot of us don't have that money. Don't be afraid to play. It's a lot of fun. Get something odd. Make it run. Throw some spiffy on it. Or don't throw some spiffy on it. I don't know that I'm a great fan of taking an old pickup truck body, throwing it on a Crown Vic chassis, not doing anything to the body, putting a radiator in the front and calling it a rat rod and asking $22,000 for it. I think that's ridiculous. But what I do think is there's a lot of cool stuff out there that people are walking by. And if you don't walk by it, sure, people will think you're nuts. But you know what? When it's done, see what turns the heads. You know, you can walk down a row of Camaros and say, wow, that's pretty. Wow, that one's pretty. Wow, that's beautiful. He did a nice job. Wow, that's really cool, that thing that he did there. But all in all, they're all the same body, and you can only do so much to make it your own. But everybody walks by and says, wow, that's a really pretty Camaro. And then they look down the row and there's 15 more. You know, I've got a buddy of mine, he's got a Galaxy 500. Cool old car, really unusual. Another one's driving a Packard, 53, I believe, Packard, with a small black Chevrolet in it. He's done a dozen power tours in it, and it always runs. It's a cool car. It's comfortable. He likes it. Old Monte Carlos, you don't barely see any of those because they rusted a lot. But if you find one, that's another neat car with a 6-foot long hood that looks really cool and can be really neat. They're out there. I know it's been a rant, but I'm just tired of people all doing the same thing at the same time and putting something a little different on it and making that their signature when so many of them are so capable of doing something else. I'm not against the guys with Camaros. I love Camaros. I've had a 67, a 68, and a 69. I loved them. I loved them because back when I was a kid, they were out and they were cool. And I'll never forget the girl that came into the Sunoco station where I cleaned the bathrooms when I was 13 years old and checked her own oil in a 69 C28 blue. She got out in hot pants and a halter top and bent over that fender and pulled a dipstick out, and I thought my dipstick was going to explode. So I love those cars. I'll never forget that picture in my head of her. I was a Chrysler guy. I had Challengers. I had a Cuda. I had a Super Bee. I never had a Roadrunner, but I did have a couple Satellites. I've had 240Zs, 260Zs, 280Zs. I built a Z Vet, which is a small block Chevy, in a 260Z. I've had all sorts of cars. Most of them are unique. So get out there and try it. Don't be afraid. Sorry about the rant. You guys are the greatest. Tell your friends, like and subscribe. I know I'm an idiot, but hey, at least we'll have a lot of fun on the trip. Take care. Have a great day. If you've made it this far, I want to do a shout out to Bob and Mike and Josh and Bill and Dave, and say thanks for all your support. And also Mike, Bob, Josh, there's no excuse for you guys not having a YouTube channel. If an old guy like me, the old boomer, can do it, so can you.